Alright, so this is a reading of a short story that I wrote about 4 or 5 months ago. I put a lot of my alchemy philosophy in this story. A lot of it should be very visual, with a lot of describing a lot of natural scenes, scenes of natural beauty, and a lot of it comes from some of the things that I've seen throughout my travels. So the name of the story is The Mysterious Blue Lights of Silver Bluff, and just go ahead and jump right in and start reading it. So anyways, it's about 3 miners. They camp in this around this mine, Silver Bluff mine, and abandoned mine, and one of the miners in the end reaches kind of an enlightenment. Okay. So, The Mysterious Blue Lights of Silver Bluff by Fan Stanner. It was time to sit back and rest around that fire, the centerpiece of every evening. It had been a long day on the trail for the men at the camp. The fire was perfectly conical in shape. The firewood, came from the forest surrounding the encampment. The forest was composed of mainly a dense cedar bush. At that altitude, the trees were gnarled and stunted. In fact, most of the year, the entire area was enshrouded in a dense, freezing fog. The logs used for the campfire were from these cedar trees. The firewood was twisted and gave an acerbic smell of pine. The firewood furnished a fire that was deep red in color and produced great amounts of heat. This heat was more than welcome for the 3 miners who were camping there that night. They sat around the fire telling stories of mining adventures and boasting of great veins that they had discovered in times past. One man spoke of Diamond Cave that glittered like the moonlit ocean when the sun's rays passed through at the right angle. The other miner told of caves that held great veins of thorny crystal, and the fist-sized gold nuggets could be plucked without effort. The third miner told of a riverbed that glistened pink with the sparkle of thousands of rubies. Whiskey was the choice for this night, and a bottle was passed around the fire with vigor. As the night wore on, the conversation became more animated, and the fire more conical. The campsite was at the top of a rocky embankment. It looked like the ruins of some ancient castle that had been sieged by time. From the top of the cliff, one could witness the totality of the Silver Bluff mine. Below the mine entrance could be observed a wooden structure that had appeared glued to the side of the bluff. The mine construction had begun nearly a century ago. Further outward was an expanse of forest, mostly dense cedar bush. Off into the distance, the vastness of the region spread out into a near infinity, only to be buffeted by long ranges of glacial mountains. It was no accident that the men had chosen this area to pitch camp. The mine had been abandoned for years. Most said that it had been tapped out for an even longer period. At first, when the mine was discovered, it yielded large slabs of high-quality silver veins that were rippled throughout a thick quartz. When a few raw nuggets of pure silver were uncovered, the mine was put into full operation. The mine's luck wasn't to last, however, because there were several accidents that occurred right before the silver ran dry. First, 2 men died during the construction of the mine. There was a cave-in. Part of the mine collapsed on these unfortunate souls. Essentially, they were buried alive. After that, an engineer died while mapping the area. He was murdered by marauding Indians that considered him to be trespassing on sacred grounds. After he died, his soul joined the souls of the ancestors of his murderers. And after all this misfortune, the mine ran completely dry. The silver mine was closed down and abandoned shortly before the construction had even been completed. Sometime later, tales began to circulate in the towns and villages nearby of strange blue lights seen around the mine during dark nights. Hikers, campers, riders, and cowboys all had seen these mysterious glowing luminosities. The blue lights were of a dark appearance and would shoot up from the mine area, dance around until they were extinguished. At times, the display would lure someone into the forest as if they were placed into a hypnotic trance. They would wander into the cedar bush, following the deep, dancing azure. These seekers would return days later, transformed, transmutated. The men who had experienced the source of the lights always gained some kind of enlightenment. Some said that they had found a secret treasure of silver nuggets and that they were just empowered by their newfound enrichment. The 3 miners' fire began to dwindle, and the whiskey was all but gone. They decided to call it a night and went to their tents. After a period, 3 separate snores could be heard from 3 separate tents. One of the miners fell into a deep dream. He dreamed of the campfire. He dreamed that the fire became elongated from the tip of its cone. The flames began to dance. They were twisting and spinning. There was a separation in the conflagration, and 2 snakes emerged within the fire. The fire snakes, red in color, wrapped around each other until they became one. This snake began to feast on its own tail. The Ouroboros continued, and the fire appeared enhanced with a multitude of colors. The devouring of the materia prima displayed the fullness of the circulatory nature of the world. The Ouroboros shined brighter and brighter until it gained an emerald green appearance. Inside the emerald glow, it was written, "Daughter from mother and mother from daughter. Flower from seed and seed from flower." Within the circle there are lines. As a snake sheds its skin, the lines are formed from the circle. Circulation sheds linearity, and from this scheme, new colors are created. The miner awoke from this strange vision and saw the campfire from an opening in his tent. The conical form of the fire had been transformed into a pile of black and red glowing embers. The embers were positioned around unburnt black logs that were situated like the remains of a calcined dragon. The night was very dark, and the air was frigid and moist. The miner emerged from his tent, and his eyes laid claim to a fainting indigo that seemed just beyond the mine entrance area. He was spellbound and immediately set out in the direction of the light. He ambled his way down the side of the mine. He saw the blue lights more clearly. They were just a few furlongs away and were coming from the forest area. While he was making his way through the pithiness of the night, he spotted two eyes watching him from the top of the cliff. It was an owl. The owl made no sound and only watched the miner as he combed his way through the cedar bushes towards the swaying cerulean radiances. Suddenly he stopped and stood before a strange-looking shack. Inside, there were piles of old books and a bizarre apparatus that was being heated by a fire. The alchemist's still was being heated by a small flame that had air supplied to it by a grand bellows contraption. From the top neck of the contraption, blue flames were swooping around, giving the appearance of small blue phoenixes. At the top, there was a chimney to degas these vapors. It was from the top of the chimney pipe that the blue lights were being generated. The miner stood at the entrance, thunderstruck at the sight. The alchemist emerged from behind the bellows. He was a man of many years, thin but full of energy. He seemed to have a special aura about him. His hair was gray and draped down from the back and side of his bald head in a careless fashion. His eyes were radiant, and his gaze was wild with secret wisdom. "So, it is you who the Ouroboros shown part of the emerald tablet?" The miner remained perplexed. He asked, "What is this machine?" "It is the still of life," said the alchemist. "This is where ideas from society are distilled into a purer form," he said. The alchemist explained, "As nature runs its course, and the circles are completed, lines are generated. It is from these lines that new ideas are born. Ideas are as lead, and this lead of ideas must be distilled into gold for them to be of any significance. This is how technology and art are developed. This is how the blue ball of life evolves." From the alchemist's explanation, the miner realized the meaning of his dream. That fragment of the emerald tablet was now etched into his mind forever. He finally understood that the search for real gold occurs from within. In life, all ideas begin as lead and can be subjected to transmutation. He saw how to achieve this feat through the process of distillation, and instantly became as rich as one of the great kings of Carthage. The miner began to walk through the thick cedar groves as the red fire in the sky became unveiled and the great eye of the world opened. His journey had begun. He had become the alchemist. Mysterious Blue Lights of Silver Bluff.